think it's been an incredibly joyful journey for us. A lot more, I suppose nobody can ever explain to you how rewarding parenting is anyway. But I think there's something extra special about adopting.
You don't realize how big and different colour differences until you adopt interracially, and it really has just opened up my world to different cultures and seen the world through different eyes, and knowing it's not all peachy, but it's great and it's colourful.
I think parenting full stop is scary, and having had a biological daughter, I think I'm aware of how little one really is in control of a lot of things that come across their paths.
You walk into the home and you get handed this little thing, and of course they handed him to me first because I'm the mom, and it's all this sort of now I've got to be all mothering, and felt that expectation on me. And I can't say there was an emotional response initially. It was more a head decision. It was kind of like, this little guy needs a home and we want to be parents. This is a no-brainer. Of course we'll take him.
Children have an amazing ability to adapt, and so do adults. You don't have to be special. You just have to have a lot of love and be open to differences. And at the end of the day, you don't see colour. You just enjoy the children and how they see the world.
I've said to her, sometimes people are not going to like you for the colour of your skin. People sometimes don't like me for the colour of my skin. But know that God made you the way you are, and that's all that matters, as long as you love yourself.
Every now and then you think about what their life could have been, and it just gives you even more joy, I think. Well, I'm biased. But just to think that they're loved and they have a mom and a dad and they get hugged, and they have opportunities ahead of them.
I think as a society, we are encouraged to get involved with the needs around us. And it is a huge challenge for South Africa, huge challenge. So whether we go and visit a home, get involved financially, get involved with spending time or mentoring children, to obviously the pinnacle would be adopting a child yourself.
Well, remember that you can also be a part of us right in studio by calling us on 011 714 8080. Our poll question this evening is, do you believe there is enough awareness that is given to South Africans about adoption? Now, Criselda, before the break, was still just getting into, the nitty-gritties of adopting and how big the problem is, but there seems to be a bit of reluctancy from black parents, when it comes to adoption. Why is that so?
I think some of the reasons, stem back from the past, where people, as a black community, we've always had adoption, although it wasn't legalized per se, where people would, if somebody dies in the community would come in, look after the child, family members will look after children. So you still find that people are reluctant to actually go through the legal process, and just by hearing it's a legal process scares people a lot. But I think the good thing with the Children's Act is that it's opened up adoption quite a lot, in that we can consider a whole variety of people. You can adopt as a single parent. You can adopt if you're in a same-sex relationship, or even as a family. So if you're living with your sister in the same house, the two of you can come and adopt. As long as you form a unit, a family unit, then the Act allows you to adopt. But also the other good thing is that the Act also says that we cannot discriminate against people because of their financial circumstances. So as I said, we have your street vendors who come through to adopt.
So people from the lowest to the highest?
From the lowest to the highest.
Wow.
And I know that people sometimes say that the cost of adoption is very high.
Exactly.
And I think that is a myth in itself. You can get some escalated prices, but I think as agencies, we try and accommodate everybody to look at how we support people to go through the process.
Robin, how difficult was it for you, especially because you adopted a black child, being a white mother? How difficult was it? Difficult perhaps to adjust as, mother-to-child relationship, and especially around the society?
Well, I think for us, it actually was something that we'd engaged with a lot during the process, because it's something that you have to think about. Just based on the demographics in South Africa, we understood from the start that our child was probably going to be black. And actually, I have to say that for us, it wasn't an issue at all. And we understand that she might struggle with some things going forwards, because possibly she might have issues regarding identity. And obviously, we are trying our best to be able to give her some exposure to her cultural heritage, and certainly wonderful role models across races.
But how long did the process take for you? Because I do understand that, I mean, I'm sure, Griselda, you know this, that a lot of people, you know, would be put on waiting lists for years. One would apply for a child and then they would only be able to get the child like 3 years later. How long did it take for you?
There are a lot of horror stories around the adoption process, and I think it is a big deterrent for a lot of people. But what I found was that actually the process of being screened is relatively pain-free. So there's lots of admin associated with it. You've got to get police clearances and medicals and that kind of thing, all of which is fundamental for social workers to make the right decision for a child. But actually, the process of being screened and matching is relatively pain-free and relatively quick. What we found is that then the legal process and the process of then getting our daughter's name changed and that kind of thing was a bit more challenging. But at that point, she was ours. And I can say all parents would say they would do anything for their children at that point.
I also understand that as young as 19, you can adopt a child.
Yes, the Children's Act says that you have to be 18 years or above to adopt a child.
Have you had a 19-year-old mom or dad who would like, you know,
I think we've had a 22-year-old that has come through. We haven't had really the 19, 20-year-olds. But also, as I said, we cannot discriminate. So anyone can come through. However, what we then need to do is to go through the process to make sure that you are fit and proper to be entrusted with the child's life.
What do you say exactly? Or what do you mean? Is it checking the financial affordability or the haven, the home that I'm going to create for this child?
It's the whole lot. So the screening looks at you as a person. Who are you? You know, what makes Sipiwe who he is. We then would talk to family. We do reference checks. We do look at the home because we have to ensure that it's safe for the child. We do police clearances. Obviously, we need to make sure that people that are taking the children are not going to harm them. But we also check against the National Child Protection Register to prevent pedophiles and sex offenders from coming forward to adopt children. So those would be the processes that we check, and we do medical checks as well, just to make sure that you're healthy enough.
Well, what do you think? Let us know. We're so interested to hear from you right here on the show. Through an adoption process, you've got all the chance to ask all the questions right here on the show. The number is 011-714-8080. Or rather, just go and engage us on social media. On Twitter, you'll find our Twitter handle. That is at Sunday Live on SABC One. Rather, tweet me directly at Sipiwo Nzawumbi and hashtag Sunday Live. After the break, we'll continue with our discussion. Stay with us. Well, welcome back. You're still watching Sunday Live right here on SABC One in Mzansi for sure. Today we're asking the question, do you believe or feel there's enough awareness to equip South Africans about adoption? You can participate and be a part of us right here in studio. The number is 011-714-8080. And also on social media, I'm looking at those messages as they're coming through, so do not be reluctant. Just send them through. Now, before the break, Griselda, you were still telling us about 19-year-olds being able, to adopt children and, just looking at the affordability. But I'm just trying to look at this from the perspective of a young mother, especially, a child or one who has had a child as a result of a teenage pregnancy. Do you have enough information to ensure that those who wouldn't like to keep children do know, the available procedure of taking the child to the centers?
Okay. Yes, the National Adoption Coalition of South Africa last year in June launched the crisis pregnancy campaign, which is to help young teenagers who find themselves pregnant and are in a crisis and don't know what to do. We also have a mixed group as part of that, and a phone line as well, where people can phone in and be put in touch with a social worker who would counsel them about all options available to them, because there's a number of options, including whether the family could assist and looking at other ways that, we can assist the teenager to keep the child. If it all fails, then we can assist them in consenting for the baby and give them counseling throughout the process, just so that they're not left hanging. And also as a result, as a way of trying to avoid having a large number of abandoned babies.
But with this information being available on the ground, have you seen perhaps the number of abandoned children going down, or is it still going up, escalating?
It's still going up. However, the crisis pregnancy helpline is receiving a lot of SMSs, calls, and mixed interactions on a monthly basis. So when they do the stats, you can see that young people are engaging with the process. But I think the issue of abandoned babies, that is still going up, unfortunately.
And in terms of, just making sure that you fasten the process of adoption, because a lot of people, they shun away because they don't want to be waiting for 3 years. And, some even end up resorting for an informal kind of, adoption or rather exchange process. What are you doing as the department, as welfare also to ensure that, you speed up the process of application?
Yeah, I think as Robin said, the screening process doesn't really take long. It takes anything between 4 and 6 months, again, depending on people's availability. And then people would then go on the waiting list. Now, the waiting list varies because, again, people, when they come, we give you an option to tell us the type of child you would like to have.
Okay.
So sometimes that might mean that people are on the waiting list for much longer. But again, we try. Some people are just on the waiting list for 2 weeks and then the baby is placed with them. But then you
So
do
it
have...
depends from situation to...
But I think on average, the whole adoption process could take anything up to about 9 months on average for you to have the child.
Robin, just quickly before we close, what words, or rather, how would you encourage a mother who's watching right now, or a young father who'd like to go and adopt a child? How would you inspire them, especially because you're an adoptive and also, one who advocates for adoption?
Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, I shouted from the rooftops because our daughter has transformed our lives. And I would say, if this is something that you're considering, consider it wisely, go and get good advice, find a really good social worker who can take you through the process, and make sure that you dot all the I's and you cross all the T's. But really pursue it actively and don't allow your fears to get in the way, because honestly, the rewards and the joy, both for your child but also specifically for your family, are so profound that it's worth any amount of pain that you might experience.
All right, ladies, because of time, unfortunately, that's where we'll leave it tonight. But thank you so much for joining us on Sunday Live tonight. And I'm sure a lot of people have learned so much. We'll also ask you a question right at home. Do you believe that enough awareness is on the ground to ensure that South Africans know as much as they can about adoption? Our results are 70% saying no and 30% is saying yes. So I'm sure that with this kind of information, more and more people are going to have a lot of knowledge as to how they can go about adopting children. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Sipi. But I do not leave you alone. Like I said earlier on that our girl Tumelo is out there in the world representing us. Well, these are her words.
I would like to thank the viewers, first and foremost, for welcoming me in a space where there was a previous presenter before I came, and I can imagine change is not easy. And I remember when I first started with Sunday Live, people asking, who is she? Is she a new presenter? Is she standing in? But it wasn't easy for them. However, with time, we've grown so close. They call, they send messages on Facebook, especially about the topics at hand. So I thank them for their support. I thank the SABC for believing in me and giving me a chance, because I started the show at a very young age. So it was a risk for them to also invest in me, because they weren't quite sure if I understand the gist of social issues. But, we were such a great team in the end. I started at a community TV station in Soweto. Before I came to the SABC, and that's where I really learned a lot. Like, that was like my boot camp. But being with SABC specifically has been, very exciting, and I've learned so much.
Africa, oh, Mama Africa, 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 eh? Hey.
I've met incredible people. I have, been blessed to live my dream at the same time. So it's been such a beautiful moment filled with, opportunity to learn new things, and also just to live my dreams of being, a presenter.
Ngicela ungirute isiZulu, ngiyacela bhuti, ngicela ungifundise. Ngicela amagama ukuthi mangifike ugogo ngizothini la eNatal.
Uyabona ke kufundiseka into engiyaziyo. Mawushela umfana yabo. Mhlawumbe uyakhuzela emfuleni yabo. Umtshela ukuthi akakunika iduku elinamakhono awu5.
Ngicela iduku namaduku awu5.
Iduku elinamakhono awu5. I-handshake leyo uqhawulo yabo somqomo. Wena kumele menzele ucukoda at the same time yabo. And noma umfana mekushela ungakafuni umqomo, ungakayiprepare i-chain yakho of romance ucu. Uthi kuyena ngibambele umswakamo, yazi umswakamo, please catch evaporation. Ngibambele umswakamo.
Singisho ke ngibambele umswakamo. Umswakamo.
Yebo.
Ngibambele umswakamo.
Yeah, and that means you want a hug. And that homework was given to boys mebeshela emfuleni, so they go home and ask their uncles, ukuthi malume yini ukubamba, how can I catch evaporation? Yabo, it was the intelligence of our people emakhaya.
It's a bittersweet moment. I'm very, sad that I'm leaving, a production that I've called family for the past couple of years. And I really cherish the moments I've spent here, the times I've been here, what I've learned while I was here. But at the same time, it's an exciting moment because it's a new challenge for me. And I'll be, moving to, a space where I'll be growing a lot and learning a whole lot of, different things, especially at a more global landscape. So it's a bit bittersweet.
My name is Dumela Mototwane. Good night, South Africa.